welcome everybody to the SSL. I am back here once again in the booth, joined by my partner Wolf. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to have two Salmons back together again here at the Star League, and it's going to be a great season. Now, we already had one day of broadcasts and matches, but the format has actually been changed. A lot of you nerds looking on Team Liquid and stuff probably already saw, but we're going to double elimination now.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to happen today. We are going to start that from next week. That's correct, right?
Yeah, so even though we're going to start broadcasting 4 matches, 4 best-of-3s every week, that starts next week, like you said, but still the players that lose today are going to go to that second bracket, just like Sue and Innovation went to the losers bracket last week. So here's how it's all going to happen. We have a new format. So it used to be just single elimination all the way through, but now the round of 16 is still best of 3s, round of 8, best of 5s. Now the losers round from the first 2 rounds are also going to be best of 3s. Once we get to round 3 and number 4 for the losers bracket, it's going to go up to best of 5s as well.
Yeah, and then, of course, once we do get to the winners decider and the losers round 5 and decider, and then the finals, of course, are all going to be best of 7s. So definitely going to have some longer matchups there. Here's our bracket. It's all in Korean, unfortunately. So I'm sure someone in the Twitch chat can translate some of the names that you are curious about. We know some of these names too, Wolf.
Yeah, we know almost all of these, but also I tweeted earlier on Proxy Wolf the bracket in English if you want to take a closer look at it. But so this is kind of where we're at right now. So it basically shows you who loses what spots they go to. So as you can see, our losers bracket, the only 2 players that are in there right now are Sue and Innovation, so they will face each other, and the loser of that match will be out of the tournament. So they both have one more chance. The problem is their teammates going at it against each other, and the loser's out.
That's so unfortunate the way that all panned out. It was so surprising to me that, first of all, both Sue and Innovation go down in the round of 16. That's out of control, and now they have to go up against each other in the losers bracket. One of them is not going to have a very fun SSL, that's for sure, Wolf.
Now, if you go to EsportsTV, or e-sportstv.net, and you go click those links from Chopsok to Community to Star League, Keshipan, okay, if you know how to do all that stuff, then you can actually write questions for the players, because we're doing community questions during the interviews. So,
I like that.
I don't know if they'll take English questions or not, but it's worth a shot. If you're bored right now, you're like, why is the game starting?
Do it. What was it again? You have to go to like community.
You go to Chopsok and then community and then Star League. It's all in Korean though, so you might want to use Google Translator for that, but that's a bit complicated for sure for most of you. I'm sure someone will like link a guide to that on the internet or something.
Yeah, because that's pretty cool. Definitely want to get our foreign fans in on that as well. Yeah,
we have some events down here in the studio. I know most of you guys don't speak Korean and don't care about these sorts of things. Here's our Ding It broadcast links, by the way, but before we talk too much about this, I want to talk about the pins. The pins are like super cool. It's something that we do in Star League where every player has an emblem, like a logo, and you can actually win some, and you can get random pins when you come down here and collect those. So if you like to come and you're living in Korea, definitely come down and get some of those pins.
Yeah. So, guys, we are going to go into our player introduction here. Let's take a look at ByuL. He's going to be the first player coming in tonight.
Yeah, now take a look at his career. The last thing he did was winning like WCS America Season 3. Then 3 times back-to-back, he gets 2nd place in Star Leagues. But much more accomplished than this player.
Yeah, trust a newer guy over here joining KT. I think he used to be on CJ.
Yes.
Mainly, he did make it into a bunch of Code S's there, as you guys see, but only making it into the round of 32 those 3 times. Not the best results overall, but you can see that he defeated some really good players to get here. He defeated Rogue, even Soxry is doing better these days, and Classic. I mean, that guy is just... He's a classic here in Korea, so definitely one of the better players.
He had a tough lineup to get there. Now, we have a somewhat randomized map choice, and the way that the maps work is a little bit different this season. The most important thing to note is the map list that's in the middle. The choices don't necessarily actually become the maps. So, Ruins of Ceres is going to be the first map that we're going to go into. Dusk Towers, and then finally, Arena will be our final map for this best of 3.
That's interesting. It looks like it took one that both of them chose, and then the second match, or the second map rather, is one that one player chose, and then the third map is the one that the other player chose. But guys, let's take a look at these interviews and see what these players have to say.
그냥 많은 관众앞에서 들어서 지금 생각해보면 좋았던 기억인 것 같아요. KT 롤스터 최성일이라고 합니다. 자신감이 붙은 이유는 제가 예선전에서 이병렬 선수랑 김도호 선수를 이겼기 때문에 더 자신감이 붙은 것 같아요.
평일리가 전에 저희 팀이었는데 그때부터 좀 이상한 플레이를 좀 많이 했어요. 변칙적인 플레이.
CJ 들어오자마자 엄청 잘하는 선수였고 되게 힘들다고 생각했어요. 근데 그래서 그런지 더 지기 싫고 어떻게든 이기려고요.
서로를 너무 잘 알아서 좀 위협적이긴 한데 그래도 경험상 제가 유리할 것 같아요.
그러니까 운영을 했을 때는 제가 훨씬 많이 졌거든요. 그래도 제가 지원이 형 스타일을 잘 알기 때문에 제가 준비만 잘하면 충분히 이길 수 있다고 생각합니다. 살살 해드릴게요.
최대한 그냥 지금까지 해왔던 대로 열심히 해서 꼭 좋은 성적 거둘 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
응원해주신 분들이 우승하라고 하니까 저도 우승하고 싶고 이번에 좋은 기회라고 생각하거든요. 그래서 우승하고 싶어요, 이거. 꼭.
So there you have it, guys. That's what those two players had to say. I know it was all in Korean, so sorry we couldn't get that translated for you, but
Basically, though, there was a lot of talk about, how they used to be former teammates. And ByuL was saying he used to do all sorts of like crazy stuff in the past, played weird play style. But also Trust saying, like, I know him well. I'm on the same team. If I actually try really hard and practice really well, I think I might be able to take this win. It's not going to be easy, though.
yeah, Trust also saying, he was able to defeat Rogue and Classic to get here through the qualifiers. So he had to go through some really strong players to get here. He feels confident. And ByuL even said, like, hey, take it easy on me. And Trust was like, yeah, okay, I'll take it easy on you. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll actually take it easy on ByuL.
Yeah.
And this could actually be less one-sided than I thought it was going to be.
Sure, and keep in mind, we have seen a lot of favored players, players people expect to win, losing. We've seen a lot of upsets. We've seen a lot of players that were kind of at the bottom, like B teamers, even like lower B teamers, people that almost never came out in Pro League, very rarely appeared in Code S or Star League. Some of those players are crushing, not just beating, but crushing big favorites. It seems like some people are practicing harder than others. Maybe some people's skill sets are better tuned towards Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, it was crazy, that innovation, losing, of course, at Nation Wars to Marine Lord, and then coming over here and then losing to Ragnarok. I'm like, whoa, what is going on with this guy?
Ragnarok played some really cool games, too, some really sick all-ins. And I think in the beta, a lot of people learn these all-ins, sometimes they hide them, or they've prepared them really well, and some players aren't used to them yet, especially macro-oriented players like Innovation, like Sue. Sometimes can't deal with different playstyles as well, like ByuL doing some weird marine timing attacks that looked like his playstyle in like Old Wings of Liberty. I'm like, oh, Sue didn't have Bailey, so he didn't expect this. No one on the ladder is like doing that kind of weird timing. So in the early stage of the game when things are not figured out, that's the best time to cheese. So we see a lot of crazy games right now.
Yeah, and we saw that over at the GSL. I was casting that one with Tasteless last night. Just a lot of interesting play, some cheeses that were thrown out. People are just not ready for it, as you're saying. It's a new expansion. It's basically StarCraft 3. So much stuff has changed that it's like a totally different game. It requires a lot more multitasking. You can't just sit back and macro and, turtle on 3 bases, get your death ball up. It's all about being all over the map, trying to get everything in your control, and expanding a lot faster as well. Some players are struggling with that right now.
It's a much harder game. That is, you basically, said that just some of what you're saying. It's a much harder game than before. You cannot wing it on 3 bases to max out and win one max out fight with armies and then win the game. That's not how this game is played. This game is a tug of war game. It's a harassment game. It's all about tempo and getting ahead early and capitalizing on advantages. There's no 6 Colossi going across the map shooting get 6 Colossi PvP games anymore. That's not how this game works.
I'm done with that. I'm like so happy we're out of Heart of the Swarm, let me tell you. But we are in a new age of StarCraft. It's really exciting. And we are going to get into this first game, guys, here in just a second. It's going to be ByuL up against Trust. And the first map is going to be Runes of Ceres. Damn, man. Sick intros over here at Star League. I'm already getting really excited. Up here in the top left, in the red, the Zerg player from CJ Antis. It is ByuL.
There he is. And his opponent down here, a former CJ Antis player himself, it's Trust, now representing KT Rolster in the booth. Now, one of the first things that came up in the interview that we had earlier, that little video, was ByuL saying, like, Star League, like, got some sad memories from that tournament. Being the finalist in the last season, after losing 2 GSLs, coming to that moment where you played his teammate, played some really cool games, but lost on stage, was really emotional, so much so that, like, his face was not shown on television. He was so upset in the booth. It's a tournament that definitely, I feel, he has a lot of emotions attached with, and I think he's really going to push to win this one.
I mean, he tried it before, and he fell just short in the biggest way possible, you know, making it all the way to the finals. And he's definitely, you know, ByuL definitely strikes me as the kind of guy who's going to keep coming back, keep fighting his way. We have a decently early scout here from Trust.
Yeah, he's going to get this probe, actually, right around the left side here and come in. I don't think that Overlord saw it, but obviously now he knows that he has been scouted. Sees the gas, is mining, so knows it's more of a safe-oriented build from ByuL, and in fact, ByuL could be a little bit more aggressive afterwards as well. Let's see where this probe ends up hanging out. He's going to check the third base.
Yeah, in the games that we had last night, it was Protoss up against Shine. I forget who the Protoss was. Do you remember?
It was Trap.
Okay, yeah. Trap. He made the entire series into just one word. If he had to sum it up, it was just adepts, and that was it.
Yeah,
all he did was adept aggression, and Shine was like, I have no idea how to handle this. I don't know, I guess I just lose. And it was like that 3 times in a row. It was really kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Shine went and posted on a Starcraft Reddit after that tournament game.
The Battle.net forums, he's like, Blizzard, why is it like this?
He was on TeamLiquid.net talking about how, like, Blizzard needs to fix this. Uh-oh. Oh, he's actually got the shade active. I thought he accidentally canceled it. Oopsie daisy. But just sending these adepts across. And we'll put the pressure on, just like you said, just like what happened yesterday. And this kind of pressure usually doesn't kill a Zerg, but it can absolutely cripple them. The shade is such a powerful tool because you can simply cancel it at any time. So the Zerg has to really have units in 2 places at once or be thinking about that. This Ling just walks in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ling making the space his home, I suppose. And he was going to go down, but he got a full scout of everything that's going on. Not much else to see in the main.
Yeah, the the Stargate follow-up, you know, which could lead to a higher position in Star League, we'll find out, is important for him to know. He knows an Oracle follow-up is on the way, so he's going to have some Queens ready. And we'll definitely want to get some Spores up. I don't believe he's made any yet, so that's a bit alarming.
Yeah, this is a problem that Shine had the other day. Trust here being a lot less aggressive with those adepts. It looks like they were just for scouting the front, seeing when the third base was coming up, but Shine took a lot of damage from the adepts, and then the Oracle flew in, and he had scouted it. He knew it was coming, and he still didn't put down spores, and he was not prepared, and it was disastrous. But we do have ByuL now putting up a couple of spores, and he's got 2 queens here at his third base.
A Baneling Nest as well. That's really interesting. Let's see how much damage this gets done here. Just 4 kills. That's about as much as you get versus 1 queen, but with 2 queens here, even zaps a larva. Now that's really cool. Not enough pro gamers do that, in my opinion. I'd really like to see that, because that's basically 1 unit that you can't have as fast, you know?
We have a second Stargate on the way, so just like we actually saw out of Trap, he was going for this kind of play as well. Just trying to get a lot of Stargate units out and go for that defense there, and eventually, of course, go on the attack. But really interesting, we're actually going to see a bunch of Phoenixes come out here first, and I don't think this Baneling Nest has been scouted either.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be 2 Stargate Phoenix, which we've been seeing, you know, a little bit more of in this matchup. It's kind of becoming the standard follow-up to this adept pressure, which, like you said, wasn't that heavily committed to. This Oracle has 6 kills. That's actually insane with all the scouting he's gotten as well.
Oh, just barely getting out of there with 2 health.
Now, that's some serious control by Trust. Very impressive. Now, he hasn't taken his gas at his third base. That's something he's going to want to be doing soon, but I think he's trying to figure out what ByuL's plan is before he really commits to that area. And double Robo. Probably going to be seeing double Robo Disruptors as the follow-up here, I would guess.
Yeah, and if you think about the amount of units that Trust is going to have to micro, he's going to have to lift with his Phoenixes, he's going to be having to use all these Disruptors if he does decide to go into Disruptors. We actually have a Spire on the way, as well as a Hydralistan and Rotoran. So we could see Corruptors come out, I suppose, because once he sees this amount of Phoenix, which he already has, I think it's really going to shut down any ideas of ByuL wanting to go into Mutas.
Oh, here comes a little bit of aggression with these Phoenixes on the Queen right now. Not going to be able to find too much here with the Spore, multiple Queens. Even going to transfuse that Overlord. Might even be able to transfuse it one more time. Oh, going to lift that Queen up instead. Down she will go, but he does not want to lose a Phoenix for this.
Yeah, really nice micro here, actually, out of Trust. He's pulling the weakened ones back, and actually not the best targeting out of ByuL either. And even with 2 Spores at that third, he loses a couple Overlords and a Queen.
So the Hydras, I think you're right, are simply going to be for Phoenix defense mostly, but we actually have Roach speed on the way as well as +1 for Zerglings. So ByuL is really kind of all over the place with his mid game here, whereas we have Immortals charged on the way and multiple gateways, not a single Bay on the way. It looks like he wants to go for Immortal Aggression first with that Warp Prism as well.
That's a pretty cool idea. This has kind of become standard for the Protoss army. You just add a bunch of Immortals in now, just because of the way their shield works. Very, very sturdy units, still do a ton of damage in the back.
Yeah, he's making only Immortals now, not utilizing that second Robo. Okay, now he's making double Immortal. That's a lot of Immortals he's going to have out. Now, the Immortal actually fares decently well versus Hydras. Uh-oh, walking right into the wrong way here. Good reaction time to turn those around.
Yeah, just barely saving that one very, very weak Phoenix. There's actually not much here at the 4th base. And oh boy, only 1 Queen is not going to be enough to stop a lot of these drones from going down. Already 6, 7, 8 drones going down. Only going to lose 1 Phoenix for that.
Now, what's really cool in Legacy, you know, like you said, it's basically StarCraft 3, is I feel like for Protoss players, when it comes to AoE, you have really 3 choices. One is High Templar, which is what most people are using, I'd say, that are more comfortable with High Templar. But you could also go for Disruptors, which are a little bit more popular than the 3rd choice, which is Colossi, which we have seen some players do. Not very popular, but it's really cool. So we're going to see Trust go into Storm here to deal with these Hydras. And he's going to have these Immortals to back him up against Roaches. And the barrier can, again, like, tank some Hydra fire. It's, you know, it's not, they're, like, not worthless versus Hydraless.
Yeah. We're seeing Trust trying to, you know, macro back at home, get all these upgrades out as High Templar, make a new base and everything, but he's got a Warp Prism out on the map. He's got a group of Phoenixes that are still flying around, being very active. He was actually kind of slow on the Warp Prism, and I wish he would send the Phoenixes over to the 4th base at the same time. But look at the army of ByuL. It's just going for an attack. He's actually just going to totally ignore the Phoenixes and try to swing the hammer here.
Oh, this could be scary. Let's see how much Trust commits to Warp-ins here. Looks like he's just going to pick up and walk away. And Storm is not ready, but it's nearly ready. It's like 2/3 of the way done, but it's not done. Oh, Phoenix is going down for free, but this will buy Trust some time. Definitely a huge blunder there, though, to fly right over that army.
He just lost like 6 Phoenixes, man. That is huge. And now we're going to see a big concave here at the bottom of the ramp at the 4th base.
This is going to be still tough for ByuL to actually make this work, even without Storm. And Storm is done in 13 seconds. And that's real-time seconds now in Legacy of the Void, if you haven't been watching. It's nearly completed here.
And at the same time, Warp Prism flying into the natural. Not much to defend this time around, and he's going to commit to a really big warp in there.
Yeah, Adepts coming into the warp in as well, which means they're going to kill these drones so quickly. A Stasis Ward will slow down the push over here. I like that choice. It means he can split his army a little bit easier, but he needs to actually split it. He's actually kind of 1Aing his units one direction or the other. He needs to split these units in half to deal with these attacks.
Yeah, a lot of overcharges coming down here, but just trying to focus down that Nexus. It is just barely. Oh my, okay, he does right-click it at the back there, and it does go down. At the same time, he hasn't dealt with the harass here at his natural, and the attack on the 3rd is failing.
He just didn't know what he wanted to do. He's hesitated for a long time and then made 30 Roaches. He's got 30 Roaches in production versus this Immortal heavy army with Stalker support, soon to have +2. The Roaches, if I'm not mistaken, don't have any, they have only the +1 attack upgrade. They do have speed as well, but you know, this is going to be +2 Immortal Stalker with Storm versus pure Roach.
Well, we got 11 Lurkers on the way. That is the unit that he did need against this mini death ball that we do have coming out of the Protoss.
Okay, so the Lurker choice is good. I was wondering when he was going to start adding those in because he made the Lurker Den so long ago.
Yeah.
But finally, the Lurkers can deal with this army quite well.
He's just got to get them in position. He's going to burrow them here, but it looks like they have been spotted by Trust.
he needs to keep that Oracle alive because he doesn't have an observer yet. He's making 2 right now, but he doesn't have any other sort of detection to deal with them. Oh god, this is not going to be a place to attack without detection. Oh boy.
Man. And at the same time, he does lose a bunch of his army over here, but he's having trouble dealing with this attack. There's about 4 overcharges going down at the same time, actually doing a number to all these roaches. The roaches having a really tough time dealing with the pylons, and now a simple orphan of Stalkers should be enough to thwart this attack.
We have a Spire on the way. It looks like the Spire he was making earlier got canceled, so he's remaking that now, which could mean, you know, potentially a Broodlord transition. He's making a few Vipers here as well. And, you know, the game that we're watching right now is, it's hard for either player to really, like, push the advantage because it's hard to attack into those lurkers. You can, you know, for example, maybe snipe a hatchery here, but you're not going to be able to push into the army that ByuL has. And ByuL is the same. He can't really easily push across the map and pressure.
Yeah, lurkers are pretty interesting because they are fantastic at controlling one area, and Trust is really going to have to try to pull ByuL apart. It does look like, though, ByuL is going to go on the aggressive, in fact, and Trust's army is not in position, actually, to come back and defend this. It looks like this may go into a base trade.
Yeah, it looks like he's adding cannons to try to hold off that push. All of his Immortals, or excuse me, all of his Observers are with his army as well. He does not want to lose his Mothership Core, not even worth Photon overcharging that pylon. He's definitely going to have to sack this base and try to do everything he can to defend his main and split his army across here. He's got a Warp Prism on the other side of the map too, where he just dropped those Adepts into the natural.
A bunch of Observers actually taking some damage there. Those are going to be very, very key at dealing with the lurkers in a bit here. Blink about to finish up as well as +3, so this is going to be a really, really scary Protoss army. He's got a lot of Stalkers in the mix, lots of Archons still alive, as well as Storm on those High Templar.
Yeah, now there are still 10 lurkers on the map. That's definitely going to be what he wants to use to fight this army. And I think Trust, you know, neither player is going to die from this straight up, but I think ByuL might take too much damage. This is the key moment. How does Trust engage into these lurkers? I think the better choice is simply to not engage them and to go into the natural and kill the main base, kill the tech, while continuing to make those cannons at home.
Yeah, protect your natural, keep that natural up and running, and eventually take the base. Once you clear out everything in the natural and the main, he's actually making a base all the way on the left side of the map right now. The Nexus has just started, so he's going to try to relocate over to the left side of the map. I'm getting a look at that right now.
That's smart because, like you said, the lurkers are so good at controlling space, but they have to get into position in order to be strong. That's why attacking the cannons like this will never work with lurkers.
Yeah, you're not going to get up there. So Trust in a really, really fantastic spot, actually, in this game. ByuL stuck on one base. He's going to lose his Hive and all of that tech you were talking about. Looks like a bunch of mutas actually coming out, and he does spot this base coming down.
And all the probes. The probes are here. They're not moving. They need to get out of here. Get out of there, probes. What are you doing?
They need to actually split up and just run away. Unfortunately, it looks like he lost almost all of those. Oracle is going to go down as well.
He has one observer on the map currently, which is quite important. Now, he's still, even though he lost all those probes that were over that location, he still has a significant worker lead at 48 to 31 currently. So, you know, those probes aren't mining much right now, but they did survive, and they will be able to come back later. You know, any other bases he may be able to secure. Now, the Mutalist count at this moment in time is simply at 12, which is a scary number. But with all these cannons set up, as well as a few Phoenixes coming out, this is not terrifying.
Yeah, he should be able to easily deal with those mutas eventually. The question is, does he decide to attack up into here? Oh, boy! All the Immortals being pulled up the ramp here.
This is
they're all going to go down.
Not what he expected. Sick Micro to save 2 of those Immortals, though, in that Prism.
That was pretty cute. But,
that's a huge win for ByuL.
When you're in this kind of base trade situation, you cannot afford to be losing any units like that just for free, just for energy.
Yeah. Now, ooh, this is scary. It's only one lurker, but the key here is Trust is massively ahead, or should be, because he can expand, and he also has a mobile harass force, whereas ByuL's harass force is these Mutalisks, which are never really going to be able to deny much of a base. And so if these bases to the top right get spotted, they can be harassed and potentially killed. This one lurker is getting insane value.
There we go. Finally going to go down. Now Trust finally, you know, he spotted this other base over here. Really nice control with the Warp Prism, but it is going to get pulled in, and it should go down. Going to try to focus down this hatchery. I think he should just barely be able to get it. One more shot. There it goes.
Barely gets it, but that's huge. That's really important that he gets that. ByuL is hurting for gas, whereas the opposite is true for Trust. He needs more minerals, and he's about to have this Nexus secured. And like I was saying before about the lurkers controlling space, and as you were talking about this, when you attack a base like this, you can't really use the lurkers. They have to get there first. They have to set up first, then you can pressure it. You can't just kind of walk over and start sieging up like siege tanks. It's not the same thing. So this Nexus will go up, and it will stay up. And ByuL, he's behind in bases as a result. This is a good moment. The Archons are still trapped in that base.
Yeah, a lot of Phoenixes eventually coming out here. Navita's going to have a really rough time against this. They do catch a lot of those workers, though.
Oh, this is maybe his moment. He's going to try to use these Vipers to actually allow the lurkers to get into that, sweet spot where you can hit the Nexus, and it's hard for the army to attack into it.
Yeah, this next fight is going to be really, really interesting. Look at all those High Templars with full energy. Also has a lot of Archons still in the mix. I wonder how Trust is going to deal with an attack, actually, out of ByuL. If he can get the lurkers into position, get a nice little concave around that Nexus, it's going to be pretty hard to actually take out that army. It looks like ByuL is just going to go on the defensive as well.
Yeah, he needs to hold on to these bases, and he needs to get some extractors up here. Gas is a limiting factor here for Zerg, and finding those lurkers would be huge. A large amount of changelings are going to come over here and try to scout what's going on. But this army for Trust is really powerful. He's got a lot of Archons in here. He has several High Templar, and 3 Immortals still left on the map.
Yeah, it's really weird the way this game is actually turning out. It's like we had tons of fights going on, bunch of bases going down, and then both players kind of just went back. Oh boy, all the pull is going to come in here, and it looks like a couple Phoenixes going to go down. Parasite bomb on one of those Phoenixes. He should die. There he goes.
It's like Plague, but stronger. Like hearing Korean commentators downstairs like, Plague! I'm like, no, wrong game. So this is a scary push because there's not actually that much Protoss on the ground to stop it from getting in position now. And he can't see it coming anymore because he lost those Phoenixes. That was his best, way of detecting a push like this, because now, he can't just like go over and check. This is how we find, okay, there they are, In fact, he has only 1 observer on the map, which is something that's pretty scary too.
I was actually just checking out at the same time as our observer. It's you need a lot more observers to deal with this a large of an amount. And there we go. We do have 1 more on the way. Nita's going to come back here for some more harass.
It's so smart to send these Mulas in now after he killed those Phoenixes for free. The Phoenixes themselves are like not actually good at fighting that ground army. They'll never be worth anything versus that ground army, but suddenly when they're gone, the Zerg has more options.
Yeah, the only thing Phoenixes could do is if they do get behind and lift some of those lurkers with an observer, but ByuL, as long as he positions his Hydras to protect the lurkers, he should be okay. That kind of move is pretty rare to see actually be successful.
All right, this is a maxed out Archon army here. Like, if he spent all of his gas, he's just gonna 1A into the Storms galore. Immortals get pulled in, they use their barrier ability. Storm's doing massive damage here, but it's still not enough. He can't hard engage us. He needs to make those into Archons if he's really gonna walk forward. He has so much gas that's why he's built such a Archon heavy army. This is not like the correct comp, but it's the comp that he could make for the situation because he had like 1,600 gas and 50 minerals just moments ago.
Now the lurkers are in position to start shelling this base and get on top of those probes. It looks like ByuL gonna slowly push in here, just try to dodge a bunch of storms, landing those corrosive biles as well onto this army. Especially if he hit those High Templar would be key.
He's sending all the High Templar in all together clumped up like that, which really terrifies me because AoE is the name of the game for that Zerg army with lurkers and corrosive bile. Now this Nexus will die, but there's another Nexus that's replacing it. Around like the 530 base location. ByuL got another hatchery up, but he's not really mining from it.
Yeah, but he's got total control right now of the entire map. He's really just slowly pushing Trust back and back into his base. We're going to need to see some really key storms, but right now the positioning of the lurkers is near perfect. Zoning out the High Templar so they cannot get close enough to storm this army.
Yeah. We might even have to see some like warp prisms used to move the High Templar into position because walking isn't going to cut it right now. But with this many Vipers with Hydra support, it's tough to actually even get a warp prism over there. You could even, I'll hold that thought.
We got some corrosive biles coming down, just poking a bit here. Just 3 lurkers to move into position. Once again, Trust is pushed back. Oh, big storms, though, onto all of that Zerg army.
Barrier goes off here. Another storm coming down. There's only a few lurkers are actually in position to hit this. The Observer is being pulled away. He pulls the Observer away because he doesn't have enough anti-air to kill it, so he's simply moving the Observer out of the field of vision.
Oh, that is so funny. But look at this, just one Phoenix. No anti-air right now.
None.
As you were saying. So just one Phoenix going to push these Vipers away. This is so funny.
This is such a fun game right now.
Yeah. Finally, we got some Hydras on the way. ByuL's like, oh, okay, I forgot my anti-air. There's 2 Hydras still surviving. Yeah, just one Phoenix in that play.
All right, here come the barriers on these Immortals. He's actually going to chase this army away. The problem is the follow-up army. He's got such a large army that even with storms, he's got double the army supply, and this army is just going to simply avoid the Protoss army, then eventually surround it, or he could simply kill the Nexi. ByuL is like, I think he's a bit tunnel vision here. He should just use his mobility to tear this Protoss army apart, but instead he's hesitating. Like, now he's moving around. Meanwhile, another big pull here on that Immortal.
And he's baiting this army totally out of position. The run-by going into that only mining base right now of the Protoss. And the Zerg army getting right on top of this base. All the probes are actually trapped right now. They're going to try to fight, but they're all going to go down.
And it looks like this is actually just going to be simply game over. I do not think that the Protoss can actually recover from this because Trust is going to lose his only mining base. Well, he lost all of his probes. Bases are not. If he had 10 Nexi right now, it wouldn't matter. He's got 6 probes on the map. ByuL can escape with the majority of this army, but I think he's actually going to fight head on. So many Immortals here, though. He's just going to walk away, but he's got double the army, and he has an economy now to stand on. He has saturated that 3rd base.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, he's shutting down Trust's economy at every single turn, just really outmaneuvering Trust in this game. Trust really had a lack of vision throughout. You know, even just that one Observer was not cutting it to see these kinds of counterattacks coming in, and he couldn't afford to lose that base, especially what you were talking about. ByuL's got a fantastic economy back at home now. Got 3 mining bases, and he could take more because he has total map control.
Yeah.
The supplies say it all.
Absolutely. 150 to 45. Now, Trust still has like an expensive army. The army supply doesn't tell the full story, but I think he's just lost too much of the beef of it. GG. He sees that base and he's like, no way. I concede to you, sir.
So there you go. ByuL going to take out Trust here in game number 1. Get the lead in this best of 3. And a really fun game, I have to say. Very, very back and forth. There were times where Trust looked like he was way ahead. He had a fantastic army, but once finally we saw ByuL transition into those lurkers, and he made like 11 at a time. It was really hard for Trust to deal with.
Once he had that opening, because of the Mutalisk mostly, to get into the base and actually start poking at it, that was when things started to fall apart for Trust. And Trust didn't have a lot of money, so he had gas, so he made pure Archons, which Archons are, you know, they're not a melee unit, but they're like, they don't shoot very far. They've got 3 range, so they're, you know, just over like melee. You know, they can shoot like in a tiny little arc, but with the Archons fighting against ranged units, Lurker's one of the best ranged units Zerg has. It does AoE damage under the ground. He's like pulling the Observer away with the Vipers. That kind of comp is really tough to actually kill Lurkers with, and he couldn't make another base because he didn't have the money to do that, and he was scared of dying. I feel like one of the big turning points is when all those Phoenixes died. Because
he just flew right over that big army of Hydras. You can't afford to lose all those Phoenixes there.
Because then the Mutalisk can pull your army back, and then the Lurkers can get into position to hit your 3rd base. And
he bought himself a lot of time, you know, and a lot of great position there for ByuL. So really nice job done by that player.
So we're going to go into Dusk Towers as our 2nd map. And it looks like here, if my Korean's good enough to read that
you
one.
are correct. I looked at it. I'm like, Usuden top. That's not anything.
I'm like, top is a tower. And I'm like, Usuden must be in dusk. It has to be Dusk Tower.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so